Standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, you can't help but feel a sense of awe, not just at its sheer size, but at the sheer mystery of it. Why would ancient civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and centuries, all choose to build these towering, triangular structures? From the sun-baked sands of Egypt to the lush jungles of Mesoamerica, pyramids rise like silent sentinels of the past, each one whispering secrets we're still trying to decipher. They were tombs for pharaohs, temples for gods, and maybe even bridges to the cosmos itself. But the real question isn't just what they were used for, it's why they all share this same striking shape. What did our ancestors know that we've forgotten? Think about it. These weren't just buildings. They were monuments to human ambition, engineered with precision that still baffles experts today. The Great Pyramid alone weighs over 6 million tons, built with stones so perfectly aligned that you can't slip a credit card between them. And yet, the Egyptians left no blueprints, no manuals, just these colossal puzzles carved in stone. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the Maya were constructing their own pyramids, aligning them with the stars and using them as stages for rituals that connected heaven and earth. How could cultures with no known contact arrive at the same architectural solution? Was it coincidence or something more? That's the journey we're about to take together. Over the next several minutes, we'll explore the theories that have fascinated historians, archaeologists, and even astronomers for generations. Were pyramids symbols of power, gateways to the divine, or something even more extraordinary? We'll dive into the spiritual beliefs that might have inspired them, the mathematical genius behind their construction, and the lingering questions that keep us coming back for answers. By the time we're done, you'll see these ancient wonders in a whole new light, not just as relics of the past, but as testaments to the ingenuity and imagination of humanity itself. So let's step into the shadows of history and uncover the secrets of the pyramids. The truth is waiting. The pyramid shape seems to have captivated the human imagination across continents and millennia. In Mesopotamia, the ancient ziggurats rose like staircases to the heavens, their terraced levels symbolizing humanity's ascent toward the divine. Over in Mesoamerica, the Maya and Aztecs constructed towering step pyramids, their flat tops serving as sacred platforms where priests performed rituals under the watchful eyes of the gods. Even in distant Cambodia, the temples of Angkor Wat echo this architectural motif, their spires reaching skyward in a spiritual crescendo. How did cultures with no apparent contact all settle on this same striking form? One compelling theory is that the pyramid represents something fundamental about human perception, a shape that naturally draws the eye upward toward the heavens. Across civilizations, people look to the skies for guidance, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The pyramid's sloping sides may have mirrored the sun's rays descending to earth or the sacred mountains that many cultures revered as dwelling places of the gods. For the Egyptians, the pyramid's smooth sides symbolized the sun's rays, a literal ladder for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the afterlife. Meanwhile, the Maya built their pyramids with steep staircases, aligning them so precisely that during equinoxes, shadows would slither like serpents down the steps, a breathtaking fusion of architecture and astronomy. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Some researchers point to the pyramid's structural efficiency, a shape that distributes weight perfectly, allowing these monuments to endure for thousands of years. Others suggest it's no accident that pyramids often appear in regions where stone was abundant, a practical solution to the challenge of building tall, stable structures. Yet this doesn't explain why cultures also used pyramids symbolically. embedding them with sacred geometry and celestial alignments? Could there have been a deeper, almost instinctual recognition of the pyramid's power? Then there are the more controversial theories about lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial influence. While mainstream scholars dismiss these as speculative, they speak to the enduring mystery of why this shape resonates so deeply. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a combination of practical engineering, spiritual yearning, and the universal human impulse to reach for something greater than ourselves. Whatever the reason, the pyramid stands as a testament to humanity's shared curiosity, a silent question mark carved in stone, waiting for us to unravel its secrets. One of the most profound explanations for the pyramid's universal appeal lies in its spiritual symbolism. Across ancient civilizations, these structures weren't just architectural feats. They were sacred pathways designed to transcend the boundaries between earth and sky. The Egyptians saw their pyramids as cosmic launchpads, where the pharaoh's soul would begin its journey to join the gods. The entire design reflected this belief. The smooth, sloping sides mirrored the rays of the sun, which the pharaoh would climb like a ladder to eternity. Even the pyramid's name in ancient Egyptian, Mer, literally meant place of ascension. This wasn't just a tomb, it was a vehicle for immortality. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the Mesopotamian ziggurats served a similar purpose. These stepped pyramids were believed to be literal staircases for the gods to descend to earth, and for priests to ascend toward the divine. Each level represented a higher plane of existence, with the temple at the summit acting as a meeting point between heaven and humanity. The famous Etemenanke ziggurat in Babylon, often linked to the biblical Tower of Babel, was described as a structure that reached the skies. For these cultures, building upward wasn't just an engineering choice. It was an act of devotion, a way to physically inch closer to the realm of the gods. The Maya took this concept even further, weaving astronomy into their sacred architecture. Their pyramids doubled as celestial calendars, with staircases precisely aligned to capture the sun's movement during solstices and equinoxes. At Chichen Itza, the Pyramid of Kukulkan becomes a spectacle during the spring and autumn equinoxes, when the setting sun casts shadows that slither like a serpent down the steps, a deliberate representation of the feathered serpent god descending to earth. These weren't just buildings, they were interactive temples where the divine and mortal worlds intersected. But why this shape? Why not towers or spheres? The pyramid's pointed apex seems to echo a universal human instinct to reach toward the heavens. Its base, rooted firmly in the earth, symbolizes stability and the physical world, while its peak stretches toward the infinite. This duality made it the perfect metaphor for humanity's spiritual aspirations, grounded in reality yet yearning for transcendence. Even today, modern religious architecture, from church spires to minarets, borrows this upward-reaching symbolism, proving that the pyramid's spiritual language still resonates. Perhaps the most striking evidence of this shared vision comes from cultures that had no known contact. In Cambodia, the Hindu-Buddhist temples of Angkor Wat feature pyramid-like towers representing Mount Meru, the mythical home of the gods. In China, ancient emperors built pyramidal mounds as celestial bridges for their afterlife journeys. The recurring theme is undeniable. Whether as solar symbols, cosmic mountains, or divine stairways, the pyramid shape became a universal shorthand for sacred connection. Yet this raises another intriguing question. Did these cultures arrive at the same design independently because of some innate human recognition of its spiritual power? Or was there a deeper, lost thread connecting these civilizations? While mainstream scholars emphasize parallel development, the persistence of the pyramid's sacred role suggests something more profound, a shared understanding that certain shapes hold cosmic significance. Whether by divine inspiration or collective intuition, the pyramid became humanity's first skyscraper of the soul. Beyond their spiritual significance, pyramids may have served as some of humanity's first astronomical instruments, stone calendars perfectly synchronized with the cosmos. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its sides align almost flawlessly with the four cardinal directions, deviating from true north by just a fraction of a degree. How did ancient builders achieve such precision without modern compasses or satellites? Even more remarkably, its descending passage once pointed directly at the pole star Thuban, which held that celestial position in 2500 BCE. This wasn't random, it was deliberate celestial timekeeping, frozen in limestone. Across the Atlantic, the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan tells a similar story. Its western face aligns precisely with the setting point of the Pleiades star cluster on key dates in the Mesoamerican calendar. For the Maya and Aztecs, this star group marked the beginning of the agricultural cycle, a celestial signal to plant crops. Meanwhile, at Chichén Itzá, the Pyramid of El Castillo acts as a colossal sundial. During equinoxes, sunlight dances across its steps to create the illusion of a serpent slithering down to earth, a stunning merger of architecture and astronomy that still draws crowds today. But the celestial connections go deeper. Some researchers argue that the three main Giza pyramids mirror the belt stars of Orion, a constellation linked to Osiris, the Egyptian god of rebirth. This Orion correlation theory suggests the entire plateau was a mirror of the heavens, with the Nile representing the Milky Way. While controversial, it raises a tantalizing question: were pyramids physical representations of sacred star maps? The sophistication of these alignments defies coincidence. In Cambodia, Angkor Wat's central towers align with the Draco constellation during the spring equinox. In China, the Xi'an pyramids face magnetic north with eerie precision. Even England's Silbury Hill, though not a true pyramid, aligns with lunar cycles. With no shared language or technology, how did these cultures independently develop such precise astronomical architecture? One compelling explanation lies in the practical needs of early civilizations. Tracking stars wasn't just spiritual, it was survival. Knowing when the Nile would flood or when to plant maize meant the difference between feast and famine. Yet the mystery persists. Some pyramids incorporate mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio into their dimensions numbers that also govern planetary orbits. Were ancient builders encoding cosmic knowledge into stone? While mainstream archaeology cautions against overinterpretation, the sheer consistency of these alignments suggests more than happenstance. Perhaps pyramids were humanity's first attempt to pin down the rhythms of the universe, turning celestial patterns into something tangible and eternal. The pyramid's enduring stability isn't just a happy accident, it's a masterclass in ancient engineering. Picture this: a shape so perfectly balanced that it can shrug off earthquakes, sandstorms, and thousands of years of relentless weather. The secret lies in its brilliant weight distribution. That broad base acts like a solid anchor, while the sloping sides funnel gravity's force downward, preventing stress points that could crumble weaker structures. Modern engineers still marvel at how these ancient builders cracked the code for longevity without computers or reinforced concrete. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, originally clad in smooth white limestone that reflected sunlight like a beacon. Over time, looters stripped away its outer casing, yet the core structure remains almost untouched after 4,500 years. Compare that to modern skyscrapers, which require constant maintenance to combat rust, erosion, and material fatigue. The pyramid's simplicity hides its sophistication. Each layer of stone acts like a stabilizing belt, compressing the one below it tighter over time. Even the mortar used between blocks, a mysterious paste still not fully replicated today, seems to have self-healing properties. How did civilizations without precision tools achieve such perfection? The answer might lie in trial and error. Early pyramids, like the step pyramid of Djoser, show the learning curve in action. Its stacked layers reveal how builders experimented before landing on the smooth-sided design. By the time of the Giza pyramids, they'd perfected the formula, aligning stones so precisely that even a razor blade can't slip between them. This wasn't just craftsmanship, it was physics in action. The shape's low center of gravity makes it virtually immune to toppling, while the compact construction resists wind shear. No wonder cultures from Egypt to Mesoamerica settled on this design independently. It was the ancient world's ultimate anti-disaster architecture. But here's the twist: durability wasn't the only advantage. Pyramids were also shockingly efficient to build. Unlike arches or domes, which require complex supports during construction, pyramids grow steadily stronger with each added layer. Workers could haul blocks up earthen ramps without fear of collapse, stacking them like a giant staircase to the sky. The Inca took this further, constructing earthquake-proof pyramids with interlocking stones that shift slightly during tremors, then settle back into place. It's as if these cultures shared an unspoken understanding of how to outsmart nature itself. Yet the real marvel isn't just that pyramids stood the test of time, it's that they did so with such grace. Modern architects now study their seismic resilience, borrowing principles for earthquake-prone regions. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest skyscraper, uses a similar tapered design to combat high-altitude winds. In a way, the pyramid's legacy lives on every time an engineer chooses form and function over fleeting trends. These ancient wonders weren't just tombs or temples, they were the birth certificate of structural science, a reminder that sometimes the simplest shapes hold the deepest wisdom. The connection between pyramids and the afterlife isn't just a passing theme, it's the very heartbeat of their design in cultures like ancient Egypt. Step inside the Great Pyramid, and you're walking through a carefully crafted roadmap for the soul's journey. The pharaoh's burial chamber wasn't just a room, it was a launch pad to eternity, stocked with everything needed for the perilous voyage through the underworld. Food, jewelry, even full-sized boats were buried alongside the king, all protected by curses and labyrinthine passages designed to outwit tomb robbers and evil spirits alike. The hieroglyphs covering the walls weren't mere decoration, they were spells from the Book of the Dead, literal instructions to navigate the afterlife. Every corridor, every air shaft aligned with celestial events, ensuring the pharaoh's spirit could ascend to join the gods. But here's where it gets fascinating: not all pyramid cultures shared this singular focus on death. Just south of Egypt, the Nubians built hundreds of steep-sided pyramids at sites like Meroe. But these weren't just for royalty. Nobles, warriors, even wealthy merchants were buried beneath them, turning the landscape into a sprawling city of the dead. Unlike Egypt's sealed tombs, many Nubian pyramids featured offering chapels where families could commune with ancestors, blending burial with ongoing ritual. Meanwhile, halfway across the globe, the Teotihuacan pyramids in Mexico show no evidence of burials at all. Their function was vibrantly alive, stages for sacred dramas where priests reenacted cosmic battles and crowds gathered to witness the divine. This duality forces us to rethink what pyramids represented. For some, they were bridges between worlds; for others, gathering places where the living touched the sacred. The Maya, for instance, used pyramids like the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque as both tombs and living temples. King Pakal's elaborate sarcophagus lay deep underground, while above, priests performed bloodletting rituals to sustain the cosmos. The pyramid became a kind of spiritual battery channeling energy from the underworld to the heavens through human ceremony. So why this split in purpose? The answer might lie in how different cultures viewed the boundary between life and death. Egyptians saw it as a one-way journey requiring meticulous preparation, while Mesoamericans believed in a constant cycle where the living and dead coexisted. The pyramid's shape, stable and eternal, made it the perfect symbol for both visions, whether as a sealed vessel preserving a king for eternity or a living stage where mortals danced with the divine. Yet perhaps the most telling detail is what these structures lacked. Unlike European cathedrals or Greek temples filled with images of worshippers, pyramids rarely depicted people. They were spaces for gods and the dead, their sheer scale emphasizing humanity's smallness in the cosmic order. When you stand before them today, that silence still speaks volumes not just about death, but about the awe that drove civilizations to reach beyond their mortal limits. Imagine an ancient ruler standing at the base of a half-built pyramid, watching thousands of workers haul massive stone blocks under the scorching sun. This wasn't just construction, it was theater. Every block placed, every layer raised, screamed a single message: I command this. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the kings of the Maya, pyramids served as the ultimate billboards of power, projecting an image of divine authority and unshakable control. The sheer logistics of building one, feeding armies of laborers, organizing quarries, transporting materials required a level of centralized power that would make modern governments envious. These weren't just tombs or temples, they were stone proclamations of who ruled and how unquestionably they held that right. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. Historians estimate it took around 20,000 workers 2 decades to complete, all while being fed, housed, and managed with military precision. The pharaoh didn't just want a grand burial, he needed his people and rival kingdoms to see what he could mobilize. In Mesoamerica, the game was even more theatrical. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan wasn't just big. It was strategically placed at the heart of a city designed to awe. When rulers climbed its steps to perform sacrifices in front of crowds, they weren't just honoring the gods. They were demonstrating their unique ability to commune with the divine, a privilege no commoner could claim. Yet beneath this display of dominance lay a delicate social contract. Building a pyramid wasn't just forced labor. It was a cultural project that united communities. In Egypt, evidence suggests workers were well fed, with diets including meat and beer luxuries for the time. Some scholars argue that pyramid construction was almost a form of ancient economic stimulus, providing employment and purpose during the Nile's flood season when farming paused. The Maya took this further, turning pyramid building into a sacred duty. For them, contributing labor wasn't oppression. It was participation in something transcendent, a collective effort to sustain cosmic order. This duality, pyramids as tools of control and symbols of unity, raises a provocative question. Were these monuments propaganda or social glue? The answer might be both. In China, the Qin dynasty's massive earth pyramids served as tombs for emperors who believed their rule extended into the afterlife. The message was clear: their authority was eternal, carved into the landscape itself. Meanwhile, in Sudan, the Nubian kings built hundreds of steep pyramids, not just to outshine Egypt, but to cement their legitimacy as pharaohs of a reborn empire. The most fascinating twist: some pyramids outlived the very rulers who built them. The Maya city of Tikal saw dynasties rise and fall, yet its pyramids remained, repurposed by new kings who literally built their legacy atop the old. This wasn't just recycling stone, it was a political statement. a way to absorb the prestige of predecessors while asserting new dominance. Even in failure, pyramids held power. When the Aztec Empire stumbled upon the abandoned pyramids of Teotihuacan centuries after its collapse, they didn't see ruins. They saw sacred proof of a lost golden age, proof that greatness was possible. So were pyramids about ego or society. The truth lies in the stones themselves. They demanded cooperation on a scale unimaginable for their time, turning abstract power into something tangible. Whether through fear, faith, or shared purpose, these structures convinced people to believe in something bigger, and in the process, they became the ultimate symbols of what civilizations could achieve when united under a single vision. That's the real magic of the pyramid, not just what it said about the rulers who built it, but what it revealed about the people who believed in it enough to make it real. The idea that pyramids might function as ancient power plants or energy conductors sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but some researchers insist there's more to the story. Picture this: deep inside the Great Pyramid, the King's Chamber is built entirely from granite, a stone packed with quartz crystals known to generate piezoelectricity under pressure. When sound waves or even the Earth's subtle vibrations passed through those walls, could they have produced faint electrical charges? Experiments with scale models claim pyramid shapes somehow concentrate electromagnetic energy in their inner chambers, though skeptics argue the effects are negligible at best. Still, it's hard to ignore how many pyramids sit atop underground water sources or align with geological fault lines, places where the Earth's natural energy flows most intensely. Then there's the curious case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, a controversial site where researchers report beams of ultrasound energy shooting upward from its apex. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss it as a natural hill with ancient modifications, but the claims have sparked global debate. Similar stories emerge from China's Xi'an pyramids, where visitors describe strange magnetic anomalies and sudden battery drain in electronic devices. Even if these phenomena have mundane explanations, they feed into a broader question. Did ancient cultures perceive or harness energies modern science is only beginning to measure? The Maya might have hinted at this knowledge. At Palenque, Pakil's sarcophagus depicts the king seated at what some interpret as a control panel, surrounded by symbols resembling energy waves. Meanwhile, Egypt's pyramid texts speak of ascending in a blast of flame, language that, to some, suggests more than just poetic metaphor. Of course, mainstream scholars attribute these interpretations to overactive imaginations, pointing out that pyramids lack wires, conductors, or any clear mechanism for energy storage. Yet the debate reveals something fascinating about human curiosity. Whether or not pyramids functioned as energy devices, their precise placements, often at intersecting ley lines or above aquifers, suggest builders carefully selected sites with unique geological traits. Maybe they sought spiritual vortices rather than electrical currents, sensing places where the boundary between worlds felt thin. Modern physics now acknowledges that ancient structures can affect local electromagnetic fields, even if unintentionally. So while the power plant theory remains fringe, it challenges us to reconsider what energy meant to cultures who saw the Earth as a living, pulsing entity. After all, if a shape can endure for millennia, perhaps it holds a resonance we're only beginning to hear. The question of whether pyramids sprang from a single source or emerged independently across the globe divides scholars like no other mystery. On one side, diffusionists point to eerie similarities: how the stepped pyramids of Mesopotamia predate Egypt's smooth-sided wonders by centuries, hinting at a slow migration of ideas along ancient trade routes. They highlight shared motifs, like serpent deities linked to pyramids in both Egypt and Central America, or the universal reverence for cardinal directions in their alignments. Could these threads suggest forgotten connections, perhaps seafaring cultures acting as silent couriers of architectural inspiration? The Phoenicians, master navigators of the ancient world, are often named as possible intermediaries, though hard evidence remains as elusive as a shadow at noon. Yet the opposing view holds equal weight. Independent invention theorists argue that the pyramid is simply too obvious, a natural solution when early builders sought height and stability. Just as multiple cultures invented the wheel or pottery without contact, they might have converged on this shape through sheer practicality. The Maya needed elevated platforms for rituals, the Egyptians sought eternal tombs, the Nubians desired markers for their dead. Different needs, same solution. Even the materials tell a story. Where Egypt had limestone, Mesoamerica used volcanic rock, adapting the form to local resources. This camp sees pyramids as a testament to universal human ingenuity, like laughter or fire, appearing spontaneously wherever civilizations reached a certain level of ambition. The debate grows thornier when we examine timelines. Egypt's first pyramids rose around 2600 BCE, while Mesoamerica's appeared over 2,000 years later, a gap wide enough to make direct influence improbable. Yet some diffusionists counter with tantalizing outliers. The Caral pyramids in Peru, contemporary with Egypt's early dynasties, or the enigmatic mounds of ancient China. Could a lost maritime network have linked these distant shores? Genetic studies revealing prehistoric transoceanic contact between Polynesians and South Americans add fuel to these speculations, though no smoking gun ties them to pyramid-building cultures. Perhaps the truth lies in a middle ground, a phenomenon scholars call stimulus diffusion. Imagine a traveler describing Egypt's pyramids to a Maya architect centuries later. Without blueprints, the listener recreates the concept through their own cultural lens, resulting in something familiar yet distinct. This might explain why Mesoamerican pyramids feature flat tops for temples, while Egyptian ones taper to a point. The core idea spreads, but each culture remixes it like a song passed down through generations. The pyramid's persistence across millennia ultimately mirrors a deeper human story. Whether born once or many times, this shape captivated our ancestors because it answered a primal need: to reach beyond the earthly, to touch the divine, and to leave a mark that even time couldn't erase. In that sense, every pyramid is both an original and a copy, a solitary masterpiece and part of a chorus stretching back to the dawn of civilization. Measuring the Great Pyramid of Giza reveals something astonishing. Its proportions hold mathematical secrets that still baffle scholars today. The ratio of its original height to its base length comes startlingly close to pi, that fundamental constant representing the relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter. How could builders working 4,500 years ago embed such precision into stone? Even more remarkably, if you take the pyramid's height and multiply it by 43,200, the number of times it would fit into the Earth's polar circumference, you get a figure within a fraction of a percent of the actual measurement. Coincidence, or evidence that ancient architects possessed knowledge of our planet's dimensions long before modern science confirmed them? This mathematical brilliance extends beyond pi. The pyramid's design subtly incorporates the golden ratio, approximately 1.618, a proportion revered for its aesthetic harmony and found everywhere from seashells to Renaissance art. The spacing of its inner chambers, the angles of its passages, even the relationship between its various elements all whisper this sacred number. For cultures that saw the universe as an orderly, interconnected system, embedding these ratios into architecture wasn't just technical, it was spiritual. The pyramid became a physical manifestation of cosmic harmony, a bridge between earthly geometry and celestial perfection. Yet here's the puzzle. Ancient Egyptian texts never explicitly mention pi or the golden ratio. So did they stumble upon these relationships by accident? One compelling theory suggests they might have discovered them through practical methods. Picture a builder rolling a drum to measure distances. The number of rotations over a given length would naturally reveal pi's value. Similarly, the golden ratio emerges effortlessly from simple geometric constructions using compass and straightedge, tools well within their grasp. What seems like advanced math to us may have been born from hands-on experimentation, refined over generations into an intuitive understanding of proportion. The Maya took this fusion of math and architecture even further. Their pyramids often feature 4 staircases with 91 steps each, totaling 364 plus 1 platform step representing the full solar year. At Chichén Itzá, the pyramid's 9 terraces mirror the 18 months of the Maya calendar when split by its staircases. This wasn't just symbolism, it was a working astronomical calculator in stone, where every dimension served both practical and sacred purposes. But the real mystery isn't whether these cultures understood advanced math, it's why they poured such effort into encoding it into mountains of stone. Perhaps the answer lies in how they viewed numbers themselves. In ancient Egypt, mathematics was inseparable from cosmology. The pyramid slopes might represent the descent of divine energy into the material world, its perfect angles echoing the balance mat, the principle of truth and order. For the Maya, numbers held divine personalities. The very fabric of time was woven from numerical cycles. By building these constants into their pyramids, they weren't just showing off technical skill, they were aligning human creations with the timeless rhythms of the universe. Modern architects still grapple with the genius of these designs. The Great Pyramid's corners are so precisely angled that its base deviates from a perfect square by less than 0.05%, a level of accuracy unmatched until the industrial age. Laser scans reveal that its sides are slightly concave, a subtle feature that corrects for optical illusion and makes the structure appear even more perfectly geometric. This wasn't just construction, it was high art disguised as engineering, where every measurement served both function and philosophy. So were these mathematical feats intentional. The sheer consistency across cultures suggests more than chance. From the proportions of Egypt's pyramids to the astronomical alignments of Cambodia's temples, ancient builders demonstrated a shared reverence for geometry as a sacred language. Whether through divine inspiration, lost knowledge, or patient observation of the natural world, they left behind stone puzzles that continue to challenge our assumptions about the past. The pyramids stand as silent equations, proof that beauty and precision can endure long after the minds that conceived them have turned to dust. Among the most intriguing theories about pyramids is their possible role as ancient water temples, monuments not just to the dead, but to life itself. Look at Cambodia's temple mountains like Angkor Wat, where intricate moats and reservoirs surround pyramidal structures in a vast hydraulic network. Researchers now believe these weren't merely decorative. They functioned as sophisticated water management systems, capturing monsoon rains and distributing them to rice fields via canals. The pyramid's step design may have mirrored the terraced paddies below, turning the entire complex into a symbolic representation of the cycle of nourishment. When the Khmer kings climbed these sacred slopes, they weren't just ascending to the gods. They were embodying the connection between celestial waters and earthly abundance. This idea resonates in unexpected places. Egypt's pyramids, though built in arid landscapes, often sit above hidden groundwater channels or align with ancient river branches long since vanished. The Great Pyramid's subterranean chambers dip below the Nile's water table, leading some scholars to speculate they served as symbolic wells. echoes of the primordial waters from which creation sprang in Egyptian mythology. Even the pyramid's smooth casing stones, now mostly lost, were said to glisten like water under sunlight, transforming the structure into a shimmering mirage of life in the desert. Could this explain why so many pyramid cultures associated their monuments with fertility deities? The Mesopotamian ziggurats were dedicated to Enki, god of fresh water, while the Mayas' rain god Chok presided over their pyramidal temples. The connection grows stronger when we examine construction techniques. Many pyramids incorporate drainage systems so advanced they rival modern engineering. At Peru's Caral, one of the oldest pyramids in the Americas, archaeologists found a network of underground ducts that likely regulated water flow during El Niño floods. Meanwhile, the step pyramids of Java feature hollow chambers that acted as resonance boxes, amplifying the sound of rushing water during rituals. These weren't passive symbols, they were interactive landscapes where architecture harnessed nature's most vital force. Perhaps the most poetic evidence comes from the symbolism embedded in pyramid design. The zigzag patterns on Mesopotamian ziggurats mirrored flowing rivers, while the serpent motifs adorning Mesoamerican pyramids represented both water and the undulating paths of underground streams. Even the pyramid's shape itself may have been inspired by nature. Some researchers point to the conical termite mounds of Africa, which regulate moisture and temperature with eerie precision. If early builders observed how these natural structures channeled water vapor, could they have replicated the form on a monumental scale? This theory invites us to see pyramids not as isolated tombs or temples, but as nodes in a living landscape. From the Nile's floods to the monsoon-dependent crops of Southeast Asia, water dictated the rhythm of ancient civilizations. By building mountains that touch the sky, these cultures may have been attempting to conjure the clouds themselves, a sacred technology to ensure the rains would come. The pyramid stood as both prayer and pragmatism, a testament to humanity's eternal dance with the element that sustains all life. Clap your hands at the base of Chichen Itza's El Castillo pyramid, and something extraordinary happens. The echo doesn't just bounce back. It transforms into the chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird, a sound so precise it feels like the stones themselves are singing. This isn't an accident of architecture. It's a masterpiece of acoustic engineering, crafted centuries before modern science understood sound waves. Researchers have found that the pyramid's steep staircases act like a fractal sound filter, breaking down echoes into distinct frequencies that mimic nature's calls. But why? For the Maya, sound wasn't just noise, it was a bridge between worlds, a way to summon the divine. Step inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and you'll notice something strange about the granite-lined King's Chamber. When you speak, your voice takes on an odd resonance, as if the room itself is amplifying certain tones. Experiments show this chamber vibrates at frequencies that affect human brain waves, potentially inducing trance-like states. Ancient texts describe priests using rhythmic chanting to commune with gods. Could the pyramid's design have enhanced these rituals? Even more intriguing, the subterranean chamber beneath the pyramid produces infrasound, frequencies too low for human ears but known to create feelings of awe or unease. Were these spaces tuned like giant instruments, designed to alter consciousness during sacred ceremonies? The connection between pyramids and sound goes deeper than mere acoustics. In Bosnia's controversial Pyramid of the Sun, researchers detected a beam of ultrasound energy rising from its apex, a phenomenon with no clear natural explanation. Meanwhile, at Teotihuacan in Mexico, the Pyramid of the Moon sits atop a network of tunnels that act like wind instruments, producing eerie whistles when air passes through them. These effects couldn't have been accidental. Cultures worldwide shared a belief in the power of sound to shape reality. from Hindu mantras that vibrate at specific frequencies to Aboriginal songlines that map the landscape through melody. What if pyramids were more than stone monuments? Imagine standing among thousands during a solstice ceremony at El Castillo, where priests' chants ripple through the crowd, amplified by the pyramid's angles to create a surround sound experience. Or deep in Egypt's pyramids, where low-frequency hums vibrate through your bones, making the very air feel alive. These structures might have been the world's first surround sound systems, turning rituals into immersive performances where architecture and acoustics merged into something transcendent. The most compelling evidence comes from the materials themselves. Many pyramids were built with stones containing high quartz concentrations, a mineral known to vibrate under pressure, generating piezoelectric effects. When crowds gathered or drums pounded during ceremonies, could these stones have subtly amplified the energy? Modern concert halls spend millions to achieve perfect acoustics, yet ancient builders seemingly cracked the code with nothing but intuition and stone. Whether by design or divine inspiration, they created spaces where sound didn't just travel, it transformed, carrying prayers skyward or channeling the voices of gods back to earth. Yet the mystery lingers. Did these cultures share an unknown science of vibration? Or was their understanding of sound's power purely spiritual? Perhaps the answer lies in between, a convergence of observation and belief that turned architecture into something alive. When you stand before these pyramids today, the stones may be silent, but their echoes still whisper across centuries, reminding us that some truths aren't just seen or touched, but felt in the very air around us. Standing atop the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, the view stretches for miles, a sweeping panorama where any approaching threat would be visible long before reaching the city gates. This vantage point raises an intriguing possibility. Could pyramids have doubled as ancient watchtowers? While their spiritual and ceremonial roles are well documented, their strategic locations tell another story. Many rise at the heart of cities or along trade routes, perched like stone sentinels over vulnerable plains. The Nubian pyramids of Sudan, for instance, cluster near the Nile's bends, where they could spot enemy boats navigating the river's curves. Even the Great Pyramid of Giza, though primarily a tomb, commands a clear line of sight to the Sinai Peninsula, a natural invasion route for would-be conquerors. Consider the practical advantages. A pyramid's height offered early warning against raids, while its sheer mass made it a formidable last resort for defense. At Monte Albon in Mexico, the pyramids sit atop an artificially leveled mountain ridge, transforming the entire complex into a natural fortress. Attackers would face exhausting climbs under a rain of arrows from defenders stationed on the platforms above. The Maya fortified their pyramids at Tikal with palisades and earthworks, suggesting they prepared for more than just celestial events. Even Egypt's pyramids, often seen as peaceful monuments, were originally enclosed within high walls barriers that could have served both ceremonial and protective purposes. Yet the military theory isn't without controversy. Critics argue that pyramids lack key defensive features like arrow slits or battlements, and their staircases would have been deadly bottlenecks during an assault. But perhaps their role was subtler. In times of peace, they projected power. In times of crisis, they became psychological strongholds. Imagine an invading army seeing a city's pyramid glowing in the distance, a symbol of unshakable order that might demoralize foes before battle even began. The Inca took this further, building their ceremonial platforms on hilltops with hidden tunnels, blending spiritual and strategic functions seamlessly. The most compelling evidence comes from adaptations over time. In Sudan, the later pyramids at Meroe feature narrower, steeper designs almost impractical for grand ceremonies but perfect for lookout posts. Some even have interior chambers that could have stored supplies or sheltered elites during conflicts. Meanwhile, in China, the earthen pyramids of the Western Xia dynasty were placed along frontier zones, their locations aligning with military outposts. Coincidence or proof that cultures repurposed this universal shape to meet evolving threats? This theory doesn't diminish pyramids' sacred roles, it deepens them. In a world where the spiritual and practical were inseparable, a temple that doubled as a fortress made perfect sense. The same stones that channeled divine energy could also shield a city. The same heights that brought priests closer to the gods also gave warriors a tactical edge. Maybe that's the real genius of the pyramid. It wasn't just a bridge between earth and sky, but between the celestial and the terrestrial, between prayer and survival. Silent and steadfast, these structures stood ready to serve in whatever capacity their builders needed, proving that even the most sacred spaces could wear armor when necessary. The notion that pyramids might be ancient time capsules, deliberate vessels of knowledge meant to outlast civilizations, gains eerie traction when you examine the precision of their construction. These weren't just monuments built to impress contemporaries. Their near-indestructible design suggests they were crafted with future generations in mind. Take the Great Pyramid's so-called air shafts, narrow passageways that align with specific stars not as they appeared in 2500 BCE, but as they would have millennia earlier. Were these celestial pointers meant to signal a date, a message to some far-off era when the stars realigned? Even more intriguing, the pyramid's base perimeter divided by its height yields a number startlingly close to pi multiplied by 2, a mathematical breadcrumb that hints at encoded knowledge. This theory isn't just about hidden chambers or buried artifacts, though those exist, like the unopened void discovered in 2017 behind the pyramid's chevron blocks. It's about the very fabric of the pyramid's design. The Egyptians sealed their tombs with portcullis stones weighing tons, as if daring future explorers to prove their worthiness to access whatever lay inside. Meanwhile, the Maya covered their pyramids in intricate glyphs detailing cosmic cycles and dynastic histories, but also inscrutable symbols that modern linguists still struggle to decipher. At Palenque, Pakal's sarcophagus lid depicts what some interpret as an astronaut at a control panel, an image so anachronistic it fuels speculation that pyramids were meant to preserve technologies or ideas too advanced for their time. The concept of pyramids as knowledge vaults takes on new weight when you consider their resilience. While libraries like Alexandria burned, pyramids endured wars, earthquakes, and climate shifts. Their builders chose materials granite, limestone, basalt not just for grandeur but for longevity. The ancient Egyptians even left behind the pyramid texts, spells and instructions carved into chamber walls, as if ensuring that even if their civilization collapsed, the rituals to navigate the afterlife would survive. Similarly, the Mesopotamian ziggurats housed cuneiform tablets in their foundations, literal time capsules buried beneath tons of brick. But why go to such lengths? Perhaps these cultures witnessed the rise and fall of earlier societies and sought to hedge against oblivion. The Maya's long count calendar, etched into pyramid walls, tracks time in cycles so vast they span thousands of years, suggesting they thought in scales far beyond individual lifespans. Or consider the Dogon people of Mali, whose oral traditions accurately describe Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, and who claim this knowledge came from ancestors who built pillars to the sky. Could pyramids have been part of a global effort to preserve wisdom across epochs? The most tantalizing clue lies in what we haven't found. Less than 20% of Egypt's known pyramids have been fully explored, and new discoveries like potential chambers hidden behind the Great Pyramid's walls keep emerging. With technologies like muon tomography revealing voids we can't yet access, it's possible that pyramids still hold sealed repositories, waiting for the right moment or the right technology to reveal their secrets. Whether they contain lost sciences, star maps, or simply the distilled genius of ancient minds, one thing is clear: the pyramid's greatest gift might not be what it tells us about the past, but what it's still preparing to share with the future. Imagine an entire society mobilized not by force, but by shared purpose, thousands of laborers, artisans, and officials working in unison to raise a mountain of stone. The construction of pyramids wasn't just an architectural feat, it was a social revolution. Recent discoveries at the Giza Plateau reveal worker settlements with bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves daily, hospitals treating injuries, and even evidence of meat-heavy diets, luxuries suggesting these weren't slaves, but skilled laborers who took pride in their role. This wasn't mere toil. It was a cultural project that bound communities together, transforming strangers into collaborators on a mission that would outlast them all. The scale of organization required hints at something profound. Pyramids may have been ancient society's ultimate team-building exercise. In Egypt's Old Kingdom, the annual Nile floods left fields underwater for months, creating a seasonal workforce with time to contribute. Rather than let idle hands stir unrest, pharaohs channeled this energy into monumental projects that gave people a stake in something greater. Similar patterns emerge in the Andes, where the pyramid-like structures of Caral were built by coastal and inland communities working in tandem, a physical manifestation of social bonds across diverse groups. The act of building didn't just create monuments, it forged collective identity. Critically, this wasn't top-down coercion. At the Maya city of Capan, glyphs record how nobles and commoners alike donated labor to temple expansions, framing it as a sacred duty. In China, the earthen pyramids of the Western Zhou dynasty were constructed through a corvée system where service alternated with farming, a balance between state projects and personal livelihoods. These projects functioned like prehistoric New Deal programs, providing food, shelter, and purpose during lean seasons, while reinforcing the social contract between rulers and ruled. The psychological impact can't be overstated. Working alongside neighbors to haul stones or carve hieroglyphs would have fostered camaraderie and shared accomplishment. At Teotihuacan, where over 200,000 people collaborated on the Pyramid of the Sun, the project's scale suggests near-universal participation, transforming a city of strangers into a community with literal common ground. Even today, cultures worldwide maintain traditions of communal barn raising or road building, recognizing that shared labor builds more than structures, it builds trust. Yet pyramids also served as subtle tools of governance. By centralizing resource distribution, feeding workers, managing quarries, coordinating transport, early states honed bureaucratic skills that stabilized growing populations. The Inca took this further, using pyramid construction to integrate conquered territories into their empire, offering prestige in exchange for labor. This wasn't just about keeping people busy, it was about creating interdependence, making the pyramid's completion a victory for every participant. The most enduring legacy might be how these projects redefined what societies believed possible. When a farmer looked up at the finished pyramid, they didn't just see a pharaoh's tomb. They saw proof that ordinary hands could achieve the extraordinary. That collective pride echoes in modern public works, from highway systems to space programs, reminding us that humanity's greatest leaps often begin when we lay stones together. Stretching a string between the Great Pyramid of Giza and the ancient city of Angkor Wat on a globe reveals something uncanny. They sit exactly 120 degrees apart along Earth's circumference, forming a perfect geometric triangle with the Nazca lines in Peru. This isn't just random placement. From Machu Picchu to Easter Island, sacred sites worldwide align along what some researchers call the world grid, an invisible network of energy, lines that ancient cultures might have recognized and marked with pyramids. The Chinese called these pathways dragon lines, the Incas referred to them as spirit lines, and modern scientists detect measurable electromagnetic anomalies at these intersections. Were pyramids deliberately positioned as nodes in this planetary energy web? The idea gains traction when you examine the precision of these alignments. The three main Giza pyramids mirror Orion's belt stars not just in relative position, but in brightness. The dimmest pyramid corresponds to the dimmest star. Meanwhile, Teotihuacan's Avenue of the Dead aligns with the Pleiades, while Cambodia's Angkor temples mirror the Draco constellation. These aren't vague correlations. The margins of error often fall within fractions of a degree. Even more strikingly, many pyramid sites sit at latitude intersections where key geometric shapes like the icosahedron would theoretically touch Earth if overlaid as a grid. Coincidence seems less likely when you realize how frequently these patterns repeat across continents. Then there are the energy anomalies. At Bosnia's Pyramid of the Sun, instruments detect concentrated negative ions particles linked to enhanced well-being flowing upward through its apex. Visitors to Egypt's pyramids report compasses spinning erratically near certain chambers, while infrared scans reveal unexplained heat patterns beneath their stones. Some researchers propose these sites sit atop underground water flows or geological faults where Earth's natural electromagnetism concentrates. The Maya even built their pyramids around natural sinkholes called cenotes, which they considered portals to the underworld filled with sacred water. This theory takes a speculative turn with the work of researchers like Charles Hapgood, who suggested ancient civilizations mapped a pre-Ice Age world with astonishing accuracy. His analysis of the Piri Rise map, a medieval document allegedly copied from far older sources, shows Antarctica's ice-free coastline with details modern science only confirmed in the 1900s. If such knowledge existed, could pyramids have been part of a global surveying system? The way they align with solstice sunrises or lunar standstills suggests they functioned as fixed reference points, perhaps aiding navigation or land measurement on a continental scale. Skeptics argue these connections are cherry-picked, that with thousands of ancient sites, some alignments are inevitable, yet the consistency is hard to dismiss. From the stepped pyramids of Java aligning with Japan's Mount Fuji to the fact that the Great Pyramid's meridian passes over more land than any other line of longitude, the statistical improbabilities pile up. Even modern sacred sites often unknowingly repeat this pattern. The Washington Monument's capstone was aligned to the same star as Egypt's pyramids during its dedication ceremony in 1884. Whether by design or some deeper instinct, humanity keeps returning to these energetic hotspots. Pilgrims still walk the ley lines of Britain's Glastonbury tour, just as their ancestors might have processed up Mayan pyramid steps. Shamans from Siberia to the Amazon speak of world trees connecting earth and sky, a concept mirrored in the pyramid's towering form. Perhaps these structures weren't just monuments, but tuning forks meant to vibrate in harmony with the planet itself. In an age before satellites, maybe our ancestors sensed Earth's hidden rhythms and built these stone sentinels as markers, not just for themselves, but for civilizations yet to come. Deep in the sands of Egypt, buried within the pyramid texts carved over 4,000 years ago, lies a clue to one of humanity's oldest obsessions. The Egyptians called it the Benben, the primordial mound that rose from the waters of chaos at the dawn of creation, the first solid ground where the sun god Atum stood to bring light into the universe. This wasn't just mythology, it was the blueprint for every pyramid they would ever build. Each towering structure was designed to recreate that sacred moment of beginnings, a frozen echo of the world's first sunrise. But Egypt wasn't alone in this vision. From the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the Temple Mountains of Cambodia, cultures worldwide shaped their pyramids as physical retellings of how the cosmos began. The parallels are striking. In Mesopotamia, the Enuma Elish creation epic describes a universe born from the mingling of fresh and salt waters, a chaos tamed by gods who piled earth into a sacred mountain, the original ziggurat. The Maya Popol Vuh tells of a world emerging from a vast, silent sea, with the gods raising the first mountains to anchor the sky. Even Hindu texts describe Mount Meru, the axis of creation, around which all existence spirals. Pyramids weren't just inspired by these myths, they became their architectural incarnations. When a pharaoh ascended the pyramid steps during rituals, he wasn't just climbing stone, he was reenacting the god's journey from watery chaos to ordered creation. This symbolism explains why so many pyramids mirror natural sacred sites. The Great Pyramid's original casing stones, polished to reflect sunlight, would have shimmered like the primordial waters receding from the Benben. In Mexico, the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan aligns with Cerro Gordo, a nearby mountain believed to house the gods. The Khmer of Cambodia carved their pyramids to resemble Mount Meru, complete with concentric moats representing cosmic oceans. These weren't arbitrary choices, they were deliberate attempts to collapse the distance between myth and reality, letting worshippers stand atop the very fulcrum of creation. The most profound implication: these cultures saw pyramids not as static monuments, but as living portals. The Egyptians believed the Benben stone, the pyramidion at a pyramid's apex, was where the sun god renewed the world each dawn. Similarly, the Aztecs built their Templo Mayor as a replica of Cotepec, the serpent mountain where their patron god Huitzilopochtli was born anew in eternal struggle. By rebuilding these mythical landscapes, ancient architects gave people a way to touch the divine machinery of the universe, to stand where gods once stood, and perhaps glimpse the moment before time began. Yet the question lingers: why did so many civilizations converge on this idea? One answer lies in shared human experience. Early societies rising along floodplains, the Nile, the Tigris-Euphrates, the Indus would have witnessed the annual retreat of waters, watching as the first patches of earth emerged like islands from the deluge. That moment of land breaking the surface, life reborn from chaos, became etched in collective memory. The pyramid, rising defiantly from flat plains, eternalized that miracle. Even cultures without major rivers, like the Maya, revered cenotes, flooded sinkholes where the boundary between water and earth blurred, suggesting a universal awe for these thresholds of creation. Today, we might see pyramids as relics of a distant past, but their builders intended them as bridges to eternity. When the pharaoh's funerary procession wound its way up the pyramid's ramp, it wasn't just a burial, it was a return to the source, a soul climbing back to the moment before dawn. The stones themselves whispered this truth, that every ending is a beginning, and every pyramid, no matter how silent it stands now, was once meant to sing the universe into being again. What if the pyramids weren't just monuments but machines? Beneath the weathered stones of these ancient structures lie puzzles that defy simple explanations. Take the Great Pyramid's so-called King's Chamber. Its walls are lined with granite blocks containing high concentrations of quartz, a mineral known to generate electrical charge under pressure. When vibrations from sound or even seismic activity pass through these stones, could they have produced subtle currents? Experiments with scale models show pyramid shapes, some how focus electromagnetic energy toward their centers, leading some researchers to wonder if these weren't tombs at all, but massive energy transmitters. The absence of soot marks inside supposedly torch-lit chambers only deepens the mystery. How were workers seeing in the darkness? Then there's the precision that borders on the uncanny. The granite boxes in the Serapeum of Saqqara, each weighing up to 70 tons, are cut with such exact angles and smooth surfaces that modern engineers struggle to replicate them without computer-guided tools. No chisel marks, no signs of gradual grinding, just flawless finishes that suggest methods beyond brute force. Even more baffling are the drill holes found in ancient Egyptian sites, some spiraling through diorite, a stone harder than iron, with grooves indicating the drill bit sank through the rock like butter. Mainstream archaeology attributes this to patient abrasion with sand and copper, but the speed and consistency of these cuts hint at lost techniques we still don't understand. Theories about ancient advanced technology often point to the Dendera light, a relief in a temple near the Giza Plateau, showing what looks like a bulb filament inside a glass enclosure. While Egyptologists interpret this as a symbolic depiction of a lotus flower spawning a snake, fringe researchers see proof of electrical knowledge. Pair this with Baghdad's alleged batteries, clay jars containing copper cylinders and acidic residue, and a provocative picture emerges. Could these cultures have harnessed energy in ways we're only beginning to grasp? But the most controversial ideas come from the astronomical alignments. The three Giza pyramids mirror Orion's belt not as it appeared during their construction, but as it would have looked 12,000 years earlier. This anomaly fuels speculation that they're far older than recorded history suggests, perhaps built by a pre-flood civilization like Atlantis. Similar whispers surround Puma Punku in Bolivia, where andesite blocks are cut with geometric precision that seems impossible without advanced machinery. Of course, mainstream science dismisses these notions, pointing out the lack of wiring, gears, or any clear mechanisms. Yet the persistence of these theories speaks to something deeper, a human instinct to question the official story when gaps remain. Whether you see them as wild speculation or suppressed truth, these ideas force us to confront how little we truly know about the past. After all, if our civilization vanished tomorrow, how much of our technology would future archaeologists mistake for magic? The pyramids stand as silent riddles, challenging us to keep searching for answers hidden in plain sight. Legends whisper of pyramids as places where the sick were miraculously healed, where wounds closed faster, and where the weary found renewed vitality. Ancient texts from Egypt describe sanctuaries near pyramids where priests performed healing rituals, using the structure's unique energies to amplify their work. The Greek historian Herodotus even wrote of chambers beneath the Great Pyramid where initiates underwent transformative experiences, emerging with both spiritual enlightenment and physical rejuvenation. Could these towering monuments have functioned as the world's first hospitals, harnessing unseen forces to restore health? Modern experiments add fuel to this theory. Researchers have observed that food placed inside scale model pyramids dehydrates slower, milk sours less quickly, and even razor blades allegedly stay sharper longer, phenomena some attribute to the shape's ability to concentrate energy. While skeptics dismiss these claims as pseudoscience, the consistency of these reports across decades is striking. In Russia, studies from the 1970s suggested pyramid-shaped structures could boost immune response in lab animals, while contemporary wellness enthusiasts swear by pyramid meditation pods for stress relief. Whether placebo or physics, the effect persists. The design of certain pyramids supports this healing hypothesis. The step pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara included a complex of chambers and courtyards that archaeologists believe may have served therapeutic purposes, with inscriptions referencing houses of life where medicine and magic intertwined. Similarly, the Maya built sweat baths near their pyramids, combining heat therapy with spiritual cleansing in spaces aligned to celestial events. Even the pyramid's geometry might play a role, its angles creating harmonic resonances that calm brain waves or stimulate cellular repair, principles now explored in modern sound therapy. But the most compelling evidence comes from the materials themselves. Many pyramids incorporate limestone, a stone known to release negative ions-charged particles linked to improved mood and faster healing. The same phenomenon occurs near waterfalls or after thunderstorms, explaining why these spaces might have felt inherently revitalizing. Some theorists go further, suggesting underground water channels beneath pyramids created natural electromagnetic fields that ancient healers learned to harness, turning these monuments into giant tuning forks for human vitality. Whether through intention or accident, pyramids seem to tap into something primal about wellness. Pilgrims still flock to sites like Bosnia's Pyramid of the Sun, claiming relief from chronic pain after sitting in its chambers. Others meditate beneath copper pyramid frames, chasing the same serenity ancient priests might have cultivated. Science may not yet have the tools to measure these effects, but the persistence of the tradition speaks volumes. After all, healing has always been part art, part mystery, and if pyramids could channel even a fraction of that power, their legacy extends far beyond tombs or temples. They become sanctuaries where stone and spirit met to mend both body and soul. Picture an ancient trader crossing the vast Sahara, guided only by the shimmering silhouette of the Great Pyramid rising above the horizon like a stone lighthouse. In a world without maps or compasses, these colossal structures would have been impossible to miss natural waypoints carved into the landscape by human hands. The Egyptians coated their pyramids in polished white limestone that reflected sunlight with mirror-like intensity, making them visible from staggering distances. On a clear day, the glare would have been detectable over 30 miles away, cutting through the haze like a beacon. This wasn't just grandeur, it was functionality on a monumental scale. The concept of pyramids as navigational tools takes on new weight when you examine their placements. Many cluster along key trade routes or near water sources critical for travelers. The Nubian pyramids of Sudan, for instance, line the Nile's banks where caravans would pause to resupply. In Mesoamerica, the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan sits at the heart of a city that was once the hub of an extensive trade network, its bulk serving as a reference point for merchants converging from all directions. Even the stepped pyramids of Southeast Asia, like Indonesia's Borobudur, were built along ancient maritime trade corridors, their towering profiles helping sailors orient themselves in treacherous waters. But the pyramids' role as landmarks wasn't just about visibility, it was about memory. Oral cultures relied on physical markers to encode routes into stories and songs. A trader might tell his apprentice, "Travel until the pyramid's shadow touches the crooked palm at dusk, then turn toward the setting sun." These monuments became anchors in a mental map, their unchanging presence allowing generations to navigate with precision long before written directions existed. The Maya even painted their pyramids vivid red and blue, ensuring they stood out against the green jungle canopy like signposts in the wilderness. The most compelling evidence comes from celestial alignment. Many pyramids double as solar markers, their shadows acting as giant sundials to indicate seasons or times of day. At Chichen Itza, the pyramid staircase becomes a serpent-shaped shadow during equinoxes, a natural calendar that could have guided agricultural cycles or festival timing for travelers arriving from distant regions. Similarly, the pyramids of Giza align so precisely with cardinal directions that any desert traveler could recalibrate their bearings simply by sighting their angles against the stars. Yet the navigation theory raises an intriguing paradox. If pyramids were meant to guide travelers, why were some intentionally hidden? The pyramids of Tikal were designed to emerge suddenly from the jungle canopy, visible only when one was nearly upon them. Perhaps the answer lies in hierarchy. Some pyramids welcomed all, while others served as exclusive markers for initiates or elites. The Inca took this further, building sacred sites like Machu Picchu in locations so remote they seemed designed to be found only by those who already knew the way. This duality, pyramids as both beacons and secrets, reflects their deeper cultural role. They weren't just physical landmarks but psychological ones, shaping how people moved through the world and understood their place in it. When a Bronze Age merchant glimpsed the pyramids of Dosha on the horizon after months abroad, it wasn't just a navigational aid, it was the first sign of home. In an age where journeys could mean years of uncertainty, these stone giants stood as constants, assuring travelers that no matter how far they roamed, something monumental and familiar would always guide them back. Standing before the Great Pyramid, one can't help but notice how its silhouette echoes the rugged peaks of distant mountain ranges, a deliberate homage to nature's grandeur. Early civilizations didn't just build pyramids, they borrowed from the Earth's own architecture. The stepped ziggurats of Mesopotamia mirror the jagged contours of the Zagros Mountains, their terraced levels mimicking the natural ledges where rain collects and life flourishes. Even the smooth-sided pyramids of Egypt recall the conical perfection of volcanoes, those fiery portals between the underworld and the sky. This wasn't accidental, it was a profound statement about humanity's place in the natural order. Consider the sacred mountains that dominate creation myths worldwide. For the Inca, peaks like Osangate were Apu's living deities, and their pyramids at sites like Sacsayhuaman replicated these divine slopes in stone. The Maya built their pyramids to resemble the mist-shrouded volcanoes of Guatemala, believing these were the homes of gods who controlled rain and fertility. By shaping their monuments to mirror these natural forms, ancient cultures didn't just honor the landscape, they tapped into its perceived power. A pyramid wasn't merely a building, it was a symbolic mountain, channeling the same energies that made real peaks sacred. The connection extends beyond mountains. In West Africa, termite mounds rise in pyramidal forms, their intricate ventilation systems maintaining perfect internal climates, a design so efficient that modern architects study them for sustainable building techniques. Did early humans observe these natural wonders and replicate their stability? The pyramids of Mara in Sudan, with their steep angles, bear an uncanny resemblance to anthills, structures that symbolize resilience and collective labor in many African traditions. Even the pyramids of Teotihuacan, coated in volcanic stone, seem to emerge from the earth like geological formations rather than human-made creations. This mimicry reveals a deeper truth. For ancient builders, the line between nature and architecture was fluid. The Khmer of Cambodia surrounded Angkor Wat's pyramid temples with moats representing the cosmic ocean, turning the entire complex into a microcosm of the universe. The Egyptians positioned their pyramids to align with the Nile's annual floods, as if anchoring their structures to the rhythm of the land. By echoing natural shapes, these cultures didn't just construct monuments, they wove their buildings into the very fabric of the world, ensuring their creations felt inevitable rather than imposed. Perhaps the most striking evidence lies in the materials themselves. The Great Pyramid's original casing stones, polished to a mirror finish, would have reflected the sky, making the structure appear to dissolve into the heavens, a man-made mountain merging with the elements. In Mesoamerica, builders mixed volcanic ash into mortar, literally binding their pyramids to the Earth's fiery origins. This wasn't just practicality, it was alchemy, transforming stone into a living extension of the landscape. The pyramid's enduring power may stem from this primal connection. Unlike skyscrapers or domes, it doesn't defy nature, it emulates it. When we gaze at these ancient wonders today, we're not just seeing human achievement, we're witnessing a conversation between civilization and the natural world, a dialogue carved in stone that whispers across millennia. The pyramid isn't just a shape, it's a testament to humanity's first and most enduring architectural muse, the Earth itself. Picture the scene, a sprawling marketplace at the base of a pyramid, where the scent of incense mingles with the shouts of merchants haggling over bolts of fine linen, exotic spices, and gleaming obsidian blades. These monuments weren't just spiritual landmarks, they were economic engines, pulsing with activity that transformed entire regions. The Great Pyramid of Giza alone required an estimated 5.5 million tons of limestone, quarried from distant Tura and floated down the Nile on a fleet of barges. Just imagine the logistical operation, thousands of laborers, boat builders, and quarry workers all employed, fed, and housed for decades. This wasn't just construction, it was an ancient stimulus package, circulating wealth through every level of society. The economic impact extended far beyond the build site. Pilgrims traveling to worship at pyramids needed food, shelter, and offerings, spawning inns, workshops, and farms along major routes. In Mesoamerica, cities like Teotihuacan thrived as pilgrimage destinations, with artisans crafting intricate jade masks and ceramic vessels to sell to devotees. Archaeologists have found workshops near pyramid complexes where craftsmen mass-produced souvenirs, proof of a thriving tourist economy millennia before the term existed. Even the pyramid's alignment with trade routes was strategic. The Nubian pyramids of Meroe sat at the crossroads of caravan trails linking sub-Saharan Africa to the Mediterranean, turning the region into a bustling hub where ivory, gold, and ebony changed hands under the watchful gaze of royal tombs. But the real genius lay in how pyramids sustained economies long after their completion. In Egypt, temple complexes attached to pyramids functioned as redistributive centers, storing grain and goods collected as taxes, then dispensing them during famines or festivals. The Maya took this further, turning pyramid plazas into marketplaces during holy days where the sacred and commercial intertwined. Goods from across empires converged here, obsidian from Guatemala, feathers from Amazonian macaws, salt from the Yucatan coast, all traded under the shadow of monuments that guaranteed the king's divine oversight of fair exchange. The pyramid's role as an economic anchor becomes clearest when you consider what happened when their influence waned. When political shifts moved power away from Memphis in Egypt, or when drought emptied Teotihuacan streets, the once vibrant economies around these pyramids collapsed like houses of cards. Yet their legacy endures in modern cities, where cathedrals, stadiums, and skyscrapers still cluster in downtown districts, drawing crowds and commerce just as pyramids did. The next time you walk through a bustling city center, remember, you're tracing the footsteps of ancient pilgrims and merchants, following a pattern as old as civilization itself. The pyramid's shadow creeping across the desert floor wasn't just a play of light, it was a clockwork universe in stone. When the sun struck the Great Pyramid at dawn on the spring equinox, its shadow would have pointed with uncanny precision toward Heliopolis, the ancient city of the sun god Ra. This wasn't poetic coincidence, it was celestial engineering. Across the Atlantic, the Maya took this precision further. Their pyramid at Tizibulchaltun is designed so the rising sun on the equinoxes shines straight through its central doorway, illuminating the inner chamber like a spotlight. These structures weren't just aligned with the heavens, they were in conversation with them. Consider the practicality of a civilization without printed calendars or digital reminders. The pyramid's shifting shadows became a living almanac, marking the year's turning points with unerring consistency. At Chichen Itza, the descent of the feathered serpent shadow during equinoxes wasn't just spectacle, it signaled the time to prepare fields for planting or harvest. The Egyptians encoded similar knowledge in the Great Pyramid's dimensions. Its original height multiplied by 43,200. The number of times it would fit into Earth's polar circumference matches our planet's measurements with startling accuracy. Were these ratios merely decorative, or did they embed a deeper understanding of time itself? The sophistication escalates when you examine the Maya's long count calendar carved into pyramid walls. This system tracked time in cycles spanning thousands of years with precision that rivals modern atomic clocks. Their pyramids functioned like gears in a cosmic machine, their staircases counting the day's 91 steps on each of 4 sides, totaling 364, plus the platform step representing the full solar year. At Capon, hieroglyphs record lunar cycles so exact they could predict eclipses centuries in advance. This wasn't just timekeeping, it was time mastery, turning stone into a perpetual celestial computer. Yet the true genius lies in how these calendars served society. The Nile's floods, vital for Egypt's survival, coincided with the heliacal rising of Sirius, an event marked by pyramid alignments. In Mesoamerica, the zenith passage of the sun, when shadows vanish vertically, was tracked by pyramids like those at Monte Alban to coordinate crop cycles. These structures didn't just measure time, they synchronized human activity with nature's rhythms, ensuring survival in fragile ecosystems. The question lingers, how did cultures separated by oceans develop such similar chronometric technology? The Inca's Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu, often called a hitching post of the sun, functioned like a sundial to mark solstices, echoing the Naman principles of Egypt's shadow clocks. China's Temple of Heaven in Beijing, though not a pyramid, shares this timekeeping function, its circular mound aligning with seasonal star patterns. Whether by shared inspiration or convergent innovation, these monuments reveal a universal human urge to pin down the fleeting moments of existence in enduring stone. Today, we barely notice the atomic clocks governing our GPS and phones, but the pyramids remind us that precision timekeeping began not with silicon chips, but with shadows stretching across limestone. They stand as testaments to humanity's first rebellion against time's chaos, an attempt to carve order from the cosmos, one carefully measured shadow at a time. Deep in the heart of the Great Pyramid, the so-called subterranean chamber lies like a hidden puzzle, a rough-hewn room cut directly into the bedrock, its purpose still debated. Could this have been the starting point for initiates entering Egypt's mystery schools? Ancient texts speak of the House of Life, where candidates underwent trials of darkness, silence, and isolation before emerging into knowledge. The pyramid's narrow ascending passages, suddenly opening into grand galleries, mirror the symbolic journey from ignorance to enlightenment, a physical metaphor for spiritual ascent. This wasn't unique to Egypt. Beneath Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Sun, archaeologists discovered a tunnel lined with powdered pyrite that would have shimmered like a starry sky in torchlight, leading to a chamber filled with ritual objects. Initiates crawling through that passage might have experienced a symbolic rebirth, emerging beneath the pyramid's zenith as if born anew. Similarly, the Maya built vision quest chambers in their pyramids, where elites fasted and bled to induce trances, seeking communion with ancestors. These weren't mere rooms, they were transformative thresholds designed to shatter ordinary perception. the rituals themselves hint at lost esoteric sciences. Greek historian Herodotus wrote of Egyptian priests performing miracles in pyramid chambers, possibly illusions leveraging acoustics or hidden mechanics to awe disciples. The pyramid texts carved inside 5th Dynasty pyramids contain cryptic instructions for navigating the afterlife that double as allegories for initiation. Cross the lake of fire. Pass through the gate of knowing. Some scholars argue these were layered teachings, with surface-level funeral rites concealing deeper metaphysical truths for those deemed ready. Even the pyramid's geometry may have played a role. Certain chambers resonate at frequencies that induce altered states, while narrow air shafts align with stars associated with wisdom deities like Thoth. Was the entire structure tuned like a giant instrument for consciousness expansion? Modern mystics point to the King's Chamber granite sarcophagus, its dimensions matching those used in sensory deprivation tanks today, as potential proof of ancient psychotropic rituals. Yet the most compelling evidence lies in what's missing. No records detail the mystery school's inner teachings, only fragments hinting at astronomy, sacred geometry, and energy manipulation. Like echoes in a buried chamber, the secrets linger just beyond hearing, waiting for those willing to venture into the dark. Look closely at the weathered stones of the Great Pyramid, and you'll find traces of something unexpected: vibrant pigments that once turned its surface into a kaleidoscope of color. Far from the monochrome monoliths we see today, pyramids were originally bursting with artistry. The Egyptians coated theirs in gleaming white limestone, capped with gold-leafed pyramidions that caught the first and last light of day, while the Maya painted theirs in bold reds, blues, and yellows, transforming them into towering canvases visible for miles. This wasn't just decoration, it was a declaration. Every carved glyph, every frescoed wall whispered the same message: this is who we are. The pyramid's artistic legacy begins with its very shape, a deliberate aesthetic choice that transcended practicality. The smooth, angled sides of Egypt's pyramids weren't just stable, they mirrored the descending rays of the sun god Ra, a visual hymn to divine light. Meanwhile, the Maya's steep staircases and ornate friezes teemed with symbolism, each step a tier in the cosmic order. At Palenque, the Temple of the Inscriptions is a masterclass in narrative art, its hieroglyphs and reliefs chronicling King Pakul's journey to the underworld like a stone comic strip. These structures didn't just house art, they were art, their forms as carefully composed as any sculpture or poem. Step inside and the artistry deepens. The walls of Egypt's pyramid chambers shimmer with intricate hieroglyphs, spells to guide the dead, yes, but also vibrant scenes of harvests, festivals, and celestial battles. In the Pyramid of Unas, the earliest known pyramid texts coil across the walls like a sacred serpent, their blue and gold pigments still faintly luminous after 4,000 years. Over in Mesoamerica, the Pyramid of the Niches at El Tajan is studded with 365 alcoves, each possibly representing a day in the solar year, blending timekeeping with breathtaking design. Even the bricks told stories. The mud bricks of Mesopotamian ziggurats were sometimes stamped with the names of kings or prayers to gods, turning every layer into a page of history. But the true genius lies in how these artworks serve dual purposes. The Benin pyramids of Nigeria, built from hardened earth, were adorned with symbolic patterns that doubled as erosion-resistant textures. The Khmer of Cambodia carved their pyramid temples with bas-reliefs depicting naval battles and market scenes, transforming them into both spiritual hubs and historical archives. This wasn't art for art's sake, it was art as identity, a way to etch a civilization's soul into something that would outlast flesh and bone. perhaps the most poignant examples come from the art that wasn't meant to be seen. Hidden within pyramids, buried in darkness, are masterpieces crafted for divine eyes alone. The exquisite sarcophagus of Tutankhamun, tucked inside a nest of gilded shrines, was never intended for human admiration after its sealing. Similarly, the murals in Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent were plastered over shortly after completion, a sacred act of concealment, as if the art's power lay in its invisibility. These hidden treasures challenge our modern obsession with display, reminding us that for ancient cultures, art could be a private dialogue with the eternal. Today, when we admire a pyramid's symmetry or decipher its carvings, we're not just studying ancient engineering, we're eavesdropping on a conversation across millennia. The colors may have faded, the gold may have been looted, but the message remains. Civilizations rise and fall, but art is how they whisper to the future. In a world without paper or pixels, the pyramid became the ultimate medium, a stone testament to the beauty and brilliance of those who built it. Walk into the shadowed chamber of the Great Pyramid at midday, and you'll feel it, a sudden drop in temperature, as if the stone itself exhales coolness. This wasn't accidental. In a land where summer temperatures could scorch past 110 degrees, the pyramid's massive limestone walls acted like a natural insulator, their thickness creating a buffer against the desert's extremes. The same principle applies in Mesoamerica, where the Maya built their pyramids with porous volcanic stone, allowing humid jungle air to circulate through tiny gaps in the masonry. These structures weren't just spiritual landmarks, they were masterclasses in climate control, engineered centuries before the invention of air conditioning. Consider the precision of their placement. The Great Pyramid's original entrance aligns with the northern pole star, but its four faces also sit at perfect right angles to the sun's path. This orientation wasn't just symbolic, it minimized direct sunlight exposure during the hottest parts of the day, casting strategic shadows that cooled the surrounding plaza. Over in Sudan, the Nubian pyramid's steep angles and narrow bases reduced surface area exposed to the sun, while their interiors funneled breezes through carefully positioned vents. Even the step design of ziggurats in Mesopotamia served a purpose. Their terraces created shaded microclimates where priests could escape the blistering heat between rituals. The ingenuity goes deeper than passive cooling. Some researchers believe the pyramid's subterranean chambers functioned like ancient geothermal systems. Beneath the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, tunnels lined with mica, a mineral with remarkable thermal properties, may have stabilized temperatures by absorbing excess heat. Similarly, Egypt's pyramid shafts, often dismissed as mere air vents, could have acted as convection channels, drawing cool air upward from underground water tables while expelling warm air through the summit. It's no coincidence that many pyramids were built atop natural aquifers or fault lines, where the Earth's own energy could be harnessed, but the real stroke of genius lies in the materials. The Egyptians mixed gypsum into their mortar, a substance that expands when heated, subtly adjusting the structure to prevent cracks during temperature swings. The Maya added organic matter like tree sap to their stucco, creating surfaces that reflected sunlight rather than absorbing it. These weren't crude experiments, they were refined solutions born from generations of observing nature's rhythms. What's most striking is how these adaptations mirror natural formations. The termite mounds of Africa, with their intricate ventilation shafts, maintain constant internal temperatures despite external extremes, a design echoed in the wind-catching towers of ancient Persia and perhaps unknowingly in pyramid corridors. Even the pyramid's shape itself may have been inspired by the way dunes or mountains channel wind and shade. This wasn't just architecture imitating nature, it was architecture learning from it. Today, as modern builders struggle with energy-guzzling cooling systems, these ancient innovations feel eerily prescient. The pyramid's thermal mass principles are now used in Earth-sheltered homes, while its passive ventilation strategies inspire zero-energy skyscrapers. Perhaps the greatest lesson these monuments offer isn't about the past but the future, a reminder that sometimes the most advanced solutions are the ones that have been quietly enduring in plain sight for millennia. Centuries after their construction, pyramids still dominate our imagination, appearing in everything from blockbuster films to corporate logos. Their silhouettes adorn everything from Las Vegas casinos to cutting-edge tech company branding, proving their design hasn't just endured, it's evolved into a universal shorthand for mystery and grandeur. Modern architects like I.M. Pei have borrowed their geometry for landmarks like the Louvre Pyramid, while engineers study their seismic resilience for earthquake-proof skyscrapers. But the real fascination lies deeper than aesthetics or engineering. It's the way these ancient structures tap into something primal within us, a blend of awe and curiosity that transcends time. Consider how pyramids permeate pop culture. Indiana Jones races through booby-trapped corridors, Stargate's heroes step through alien pyramids, and even cartoons depict them as repositories of hidden knowledge or cursed treasure. This isn't just Hollywood spectacle. It reflects a collective intuition that pyramids guard secrets. Conspiracy theories thrive around them, from claims about hidden chambers in the Great Pyramid to wild speculations about extraterrestrial blueprints. While archaeologists roll their eyes, the persistence of these myths reveals something telling. In an age of satellites and AI, we still can't shake the feeling that these stones know something we don't. Tourism statistics underscore their magnetic pull. Giza's pyramids draw over 14 million visitors annually, while Mexico's Teotihuacan sees crowds gather by the thousands to witness the equinox serpent descent. Visitors often describe an almost spiritual weight to these sites, a hushed reverence that goes beyond typical sightseeing. Psychologists suggest this reaction stems from what's called the pyramid effect, the way their sheer scale triggers a sublime response, making us feel simultaneously insignificant and connected to something eternal. Standing before them, we're forced to confront the same questions their builders did. What lasts, what matters, yet the pyramid's modern legacy isn't just philosophical. Scientists have repurposed their principles in surprising ways. The pyramid shape is now used in solar concentrators to harness renewable energy, while its acoustic properties inspire concert hall designs. Even medical researchers explore pyramid-like structures for targeted drug delivery, mimicking how the shape seems to focus energy. This practical adaptation underscores a paradox. The very monuments we associate with antiquity are fueling cutting-edge innovation. Perhaps the most compelling proof of their enduring power lies in how they've become blank canvases for every generation. The 18th century saw them as mathematical puzzles, the 19th as symbols of imperial ambition, and the 20th as alien relics. Today, they're meme fodder and mindfulness backdrops reshaped by each era's obsessions. Their immortality isn't in the stones themselves, but in our endless reinvention of their meaning, a dialogue between past and present that shows no sign of ending. The pyramid doesn't just belong to history, it's a mirror reflecting whatever we need to see. Even after centuries of exploration, the pyramids still cling to their deepest secrets with the tenacity of the desert sands that surround them. Just when we think we've uncovered all there is to know, new technologies pry open another layer of mystery. In 2017, researchers using advanced particle physics discovered a hidden void deep within the Great Pyramid, a chamber the size of a passenger plane, untouched for over 4,500 years. What lies inside? Tools left by builders, sacred artifacts, or something even more unexpected? Ground-penetrating radar has revealed networks of undiscovered tunnels snaking beneath the pyramids of Giza, while LiDAR surveys in the Guatemalan jungle exposed dozens of lost Maya pyramids swallowed by vegetation. Each discovery feels like turning a page in a book where half the chapters are still sealed shut. The unanswered questions multiply faster than the answers. Why do certain pyramids emit strange electromagnetic anomalies that disrupt modern equipment? How did builders achieve such impossible precision without standardized measurement tools? And perhaps most baffling of all, why do cultures separated by oceans and millennia share such strikingly similar pyramid building traditions? Teams armed with thermal imaging cameras and 3D scanners now scour these ancient structures, hunting for clues invisible to the naked eye. In Egypt, researchers recently used cosmic ray detectors to map density variations inside pyramids, revealing potential hidden passages. Meanwhile, linguists race against time to decode newly discovered Mayan glyphs that might finally explain the purpose of their steep ceremonial pyramids. Some mysteries may never be solved. The whereabouts of Khufu's original burial goods, the true function of the Great Pyramid's so-called air shafts, the reason behind the eerie acoustic properties of certain chambers, these puzzles continue to taunt archaeologists. Yet the pursuit itself has value. Every failed theory, every inconclusive scan adds another piece to the puzzle. The pyramids remind us that history isn't a closed book, but a living conversation between past and present. With each technological leap from X-rays to satellite imaging to AI-powered artifact analysis, we gain new ways to interrogate these stone enigmas. Perhaps the greatest lesson lies in the questions themselves. The pyramids were built to last, but also to provoke. They stand as eternal challenges, daring every generation to look deeper, think harder, and wonder what else might be waiting just beneath the surface. As long as that curiosity burns, the story of the pyramids is far from over. From spiritual sanctuaries to engineering feats, the reasons behind pyramid construction are as multifaceted as the cultures that built them. These towering stone puzzles refuse to fit neatly into any single category. They were tombs that doubled as resurrection machines, temples that functioned as celestial calendars, and civic projects that united entire civilizations. The Maya saw them as portals to commune with ancestors, while the Egyptians envisioned them as cosmic launch pads for the soul. Modern engineers marvel at their seismic resilience, and astronomers still decode their star-aligned precision. Perhaps that's the real magic of pyramids. They weren't designed for just one purpose, but to serve as blank slates for humanity's grandest ambitions. Think about how rare that is in our modern world of single-use buildings. A shopping mall stays a shopping mall. An office tower rarely becomes anything else. But pyramids evolved with their cultures. Witness how the pharaohs of Egypt's later dynasties abandoned pyramid building for hidden rock-cut tombs, while the Maya kept expanding theirs into living theaters for sacred drama. Their adaptability hints at something profound. These weren't just structures, but ideas made stone, capable of meaning whatever each generation needed them to mean. A Nubian pyramid marked a merchant's grave, while its Egyptian cousin entombed a god-king. Same shape, vastly different stories. What's astonishing isn't just the diversity of their roles, but how those roles intertwined. The Great Pyramid's chambers align with Orion's belt, but its construction also fed thousands of workers for decades. Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Moon anchored spiritual rituals while dominating trade routes like a billboard for imperial power. This duality, sacred and practical, celestial and earthly, might be the key to their enduring fascination. They remind us that ancient people didn't compartmentalize the way we do. To them, the movements of stars and the price of grain were threads in the same cosmic fabric. So where does that leave us today, armed with lasers and satellites but still piecing together the puzzle? Every new technology peels back another layer. Muon tomography reveals hidden voids while AI deciphers faded glyphs. Yet for all our tools, the pyramids retain their essential mystery, whispering that some truths aren't uncovered by gadgetry alone, but by wrestling with the bigger questions they pose. Why do we build? What lasts? How do we touch the infinite? Your voice belongs in this conversation too. Maybe you've stood beneath these monuments and felt their silent pull, or perhaps you've spotted a pattern the experts missed. The comment section is your excavation site. Share what you think pyramids truly represented, or which theory resonates most. And if today's journey through these ancient wonders left you hungry for more, hit that subscribe button to join us as we keep unraveling history's greatest enigmas. The past never stops speaking. We just have to learn how to listen.